Let me ask you something. Have you noticed how often men talk about the wall as long as it's someone else's problem? We joke about it. We weaponize it. We bring it up when we're frustrated, rejected, or just feeling cynical. You've heard the lines. Have your fun now. Enjoy the attention while it lasts. Once you hit the wall, it's over. And look, there is truth in that idea. A woman's social value is heavily tied to youth and fertility. That window does close. And when it does, the world responds differently. That's not cruelty. That's biology colliding with social reality. But here's where men get dangerously comfortable. We talk about their clock so we don't have to look at our own. Because the wall doesn't just come for women, it comes for men too, just quieter. No dramatic moment, no announcement, no one pulls you aside and tells you it's happening. You just wake up one day and realize the room doesn't lean in anymore. People still nod, they still smile, they still listen, but they don't follow. And if you don't understand what that moment really is, you'll misdiagnose it and lose years trying to fix the wrong problem. So tonight, this isn't about fear. It's about clarity. Because men don't lose power overnight. They lose it slowly. And then all at once, what's going on? My name is Romeo, and we are back with another one. Now, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you agree or disagree. We don't operate in a tunnel vision here, and I want to hear what you have to say. All right, let's get back into the show. Let's clear something up right away. The wall is not age. That's the biggest misunderstanding. Age is obvious. The wall is subtle. The wall is the moment you're no longer taken into consideration. Not rejected, not attacked, just skipped. It's when decisions get made without looping you in. When conversations keep moving after you stop talking. When your presence doesn't shift outcomes anymore. And here's why that's confusing. In your 20s and 30s, sometimes into your early 40s, you get used to something. You get used to deciding, I'm going to do this, and watching people come with you. A business idea, a project, a vision. People follow because you feel like momentum. That's male power. Men don't create value alone. We create value by pulling other people toward something. That's how tribes survive. That's how companies scale. That's how influence works. But what nobody tells you is this. That power is rented. And one day, the lease quietly expires. No warning shot, no dramatic fall. Just a moment where you realize people stopped orienting themselves around you. That's the wall. When you're young, something strange happens. You don't just live in reality, you bend it. You say, let's go this way, and people consider it, not because you've proven anything yet, but because you might. That's ancient. That's the mammoth hunt, the expedition into unknown territory, the climb before there's a map. In youth, belief substitutes for proof. People give you grace because you have time, you have energy, you have upside. That belief lets you fail publicly. It lets you pivot. It lets people project their hopes onto you. But belief isn't permanent. At some point, the question changes. People stop asking, what could he become? And start asking, why should I follow him now? And if you don't have an answer ready, the silence answers for you. Here's something most men don't want to hear. Potential has an expiration date. At 25, ambition is exciting. At 35, it's expected. At 45, it's evaluated. At 55, it's questioned. If you're still leading on promise alone, you don't look hungry anymore. You look unfinished. And that's where the confusion starts. Men think they've lost their edge. No, they've lost the benefit of the doubt. By midlife, the world expects receipts. And if you don't have them, your personality doesn't save you. It puts a spotlight on what's missing. I once watched old footage of John D. Rockefeller in his 90s. Frail, slow, barely moving. And yet people sang for him, on command. Not because he was charming, not because he was inspiring, because he owned reality. Money outlives energy. Ownership outlives charisma. Rockefeller didn't need to convince anyone. The room bent toward him automatically. And here's the uncomfortable part. Most men think they're building power. What they're really building is position, and positions belong to institutions. When the institution moves on, so does your influence. Men climb hierarchies. That's normal. But hierarchies narrow at the top. As you rise, fewer people benefit from your success. Fewer people make it with you, and eventually, doubt creeps in. Is he still moving forward? Is this still worth it? Is following him safe? Leadership doesn't die from failure. It dies from hesitation. Once people pause, momentum collapses. That's the male wall. Not looks, not fitness, credibility. Here's a harder truth. Some men hit the wall early. No one believes in them, no one follows them, no one invests. And after a while, they stop believing in themselves. That's when ambition dies. Men who cannot lead other men become invisible, to women, to opportunity, to society. Because attraction, romantic or professional, isn't about appearance, it's about proof. A man with followers is assumed valuable. A man without them has to explain himself. Most never recover from that. I knew a senior executive once. At 55, he ran a division, thousands of people, real authority. Then came the peer, really, a replacement. Within a few years, his influence evaporated. He tried to leave, tried to take loyalty with him. Nothing followed, because the power was never his. It belonged to the chair, and when the chair moved on, so did the world. Corporate ladders reward compliance dressed up as ambition. They train men to confuse position with power. But positions expire. Ownership doesn't. Corporate men believe they're indispensable, right up until the spreadsheet says otherwise. And when the ladder ends, they realize they never built anything underneath it. There's only one defense: ownership. Better to be the head of a mouse than the tail of a lion. If you own something, even something small, you remain essential. If you don't, you're replaceable. Personality fades, assets compound. Convert momentum into leverage while you still can. This isn't pessimism, it's respect. A man who knows the distance paces himself. The wall is inevitable, but being erased by it is optional. We've all heard the jokes, haven't we? We've heard the whispers in the cigars bars and the locker rooms. We talk about their clock. We talk about the wall for women as if it's a spectator sport, something that happens to someone else while we sit safely in the front row. We tell them to enjoy the attention while it lasts, and we do it with a smirk, feeling untouchable. But gentlemen, there's a danger in getting too comfortable, because while we're busy watching their clock, we've forgotten to check our own, and trust me, ours doesn't tick. It doesn't make a sound at all. Biology is a fair player. It doesn't take sides. For a woman, the wall is often a sudden crashing wave, a biological reality that the world acknowledges loudly. But for a man, the wall is a slow, silent fog. There's no dramatic moment, no announcement. No one pulls you aside at 45 or 50 to tell you that the game has changed. You simply wake up one day and realize the room doesn't lean in anymore. Think about that. When you were younger, your presence carried a certain electricity. When you spoke, people tilted their heads. They looked for your approval. But now, they still nod. They're polite. After all, we're civilized men. They still smile. They still listen. But they don't follow. You've lost your gravity, and you didn't even feel the weight leave your shoulders. This is the moment most men misdiagnose. They think they've just matured. They think they're above the fray. But in reality, they've become background noise in a room they used to lead. The most dangerous thing a man can do is mistake politeness for influence. If you don't understand that your social currency has shifted from your potential to your legacy, you will spend the rest of your life shouting into a void, wondering why the echoes aren't coming back. The wall for a man isn't the loss of his looks, it's the loss of his relevance. And relevance, unlike youth, must be maintained with a much sharper blade. So, by all means, keep joking about the clocks of others if it makes your drink taste better. But I suggest you take a long, hard look in the mirror tonight, not at the gray in your beard, but at the fire in your eyes. Is the room still leaning in? Or are you just a ghost in a very expensive suit? The wall's coming, gentlemen. Don't let it find you standing still. Stay sharp, stay relevant, prepare early, plan deliberately, and when the wall arrives, you won't be standing in front of it. You'll already be past it. Stay disciplined, stay deliberate, and never confuse momentum with permanence. Thanks y'all for staying till the end. As I stated before, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I'll catch y'all on the next one.